right, so welcome to another episode of the Pierce Dispatch podcast. I'm joined by Jon Lamers, and he is our customer service manager for tech support and fleet. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So today we're going to be talking about apparatus maintenance best practices that our listeners and customers can really take to heart and implement to keep their trucks in service. So let's dive in. What brought you to aftermarket and leading you into the role that you're in now?
Well, I'll tell you, I came to Pierce about 18 years ago. I was actually a firefighter in the Army for 20 years. So when I got out of basic training in AIT, I was looking for a firefighting role around here, and I was struggling to get in because 9/11 happened. So people were beating down the doors for fire academies and tech schools. So it was a struggle. So I always lived in Appleton, and I knew about Pierce, so I came over. I was luckily able to get an electrician job on the floor. I did that for about 10 years, took a beating on the apparatuses climbing up and under. But I was fortunate enough to be trained as a rover. So I really got to learn the ins and outs from bumper to bumper on the trucks. So I took that knowledge and I went to aftermarket about 10 years later as a technical support specialist. So I was very fortunate to do that. And then I got the opportunity to be the fleet manager. And then shortly after that, I took on the technical support team as well.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea your background looked like that. So when you were looking for a firefighting job, you said after 9/11 was around the time. And was it specific to the Appleton area that there was a high demand, or everywhere?
It was everywhere. So, I mean, with 9/11 happening and the 343 firefighters that did perish that day, I think everybody was looking for that opportunity to serve either in the military or in the fire service. So I got to do both.
Yeah,
So
certainly.
it was awesome.
Oh, that comes to mind so freshly for me as we are preparing for the 9/11 stair climb at Lambeau this year. That honors the 343, and we always see a great turnout from local departments. So
Pierce does a great job with that.
yeah, honoring the fallen. Well, to lean more into our topic today, could you just tell us a little bit more about what preventative maintenance is in today's fire industry and what that looks like?
Yeah, so being in the military, we had PMCS, so it's very similar. So that was our daily checks that we had to do on our trucks. We had to make sure that it was operational. And being in the fire service and having a critical component and apparatus that's on the road, you got to make sure that thing's going to be operational when you get to a fire scene, especially when you're going into a burning building. So it's one of the most critical components that you'll see on the road. And to go through your preventative maintenance is so important because you got to find the small things so it doesn't turn into something big when you are on a fire scene. And then you definitely don't want that big thing to turn into something catastrophic. Especially when you're there to save a life, you want to rely on that truck. You don't want another truck to come have to save you.
Absolutely. And you shared an acronym there. Can you define it?
PMCS, it's preventative maintenance, checks and services,
Okay.
I believe. It's been a while. I've been out for about 5 years. So
Yeah. Do you see that parallel
absolutely.
between the industry and the Army?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, and can you share real world examples that you may have seen in the industry for yourself, for customers?
Yeah, so I got deployed in 2018 to the Middle East, and I found myself in Afghanistan in the Logar province. And we were actually up over a mile into the mountains. It was a small little air base. It was actually Fob Delki. And we had an old P-19, an Oshkosh P-19 that was about 25 years at the time, and a P-23 that was about 19 years old. And we didn't have a neighboring base. So if that truck broke down, that was it. And then all operations would cease because we would not be able to fly in any fixed or rotary wing aircraft. So it was really important that our trucks were operational. So having the background at Pierce at that time, I woke up early in the morning. It'd be about 20 degrees because we were up in the mountains, and I would be fixing water leaks. I would use gum, duct tape, anything I could find until I could source the right parts. We did fly in contractors for annual inspections because that was very important to us. But the minor stuff, we made sure that was important, and we did our walkarounds every morning and we fixed what we could.
Yeah. So every morning, what were kind of the different maintenance things that you would share? You shared like water leak, or what kind of things?
So where we were in the mountains, we didn't have hydrants, so we didn't have running water, so we had to ship that in as well. So a small leak up there could be huge by the end of the day. We were losing gallons, even with the trickle. So we had to take panels off. We had to make sure we found those leaks and we patched them up. We had to make sure that the air pressure, it's in the high altitude, and with the aircraft, we had to have foam there too. So those systems on an older truck were, they were degrading a little bit.
Yeah.
So we had to do a lot of maintenance work, and we did what we could without having a full-time maintenance department there. We did have some maintenance guys there, but they didn't know what a fire truck was that they worked on on Humvees and TVs. So
Yeah. I want to learn more about, so every morning you would look at the truck from bumper to bumper,
yeah.
whether it be at Pierce as an electrician or overseas. What were some of those things that you'd look for every morning?
On a daily basis, we would look at it as a readiness. So we wanted to make sure our wipers were working, our mirrors were adjusted properly, our headlights were working, our warning lights, sirens, air horns, anything that would allow us and the truck to get to the scene safely.
Mhm.
So, and then you would do your weekly checks, which you would elaborate a little bit more. And I always looked at it more operational stuff. So looking at your valves, making sure those are operational, exercising those.
Mhm.
We didn't have an aerial, but on a normal aerial apparatus, you want to make sure that you're exercising that so it's not drifting down, no hydraulic leaks, anything like that. So really start small, and then you kind of do those concentric circles and look for the bigger things.
Yeah, so you shared some really good practices there. Is there any rhyme or reason that departments could implement to make that come into fruition so that their department has a routine and a practice?
Yeah. So habit forming is a big thing with preventative maintenance. So with departments these days, they cover down on a lot of people because their staffing issues are getting a little tighter because we're not in that 9/11 era anymore, and everyone's kind of going to the tech world. So you got to build that habit. You got to have documentation, and I really lean on a lot of departments that have a Pierce vehicle to use our manuals because we do have our daily, our weekly, monthly, annual, biannual. And we even break it down to our hourly inspections. So incorporate what we have in the manuals, come up with your own stuff, and document, document, document.
Mm,
Documents will turn into trends, and it'll also turn your memory into data.
yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
resource. Where did you learn all of that?
Military, I guess.
Military, yeah. Yeah, they're a pretty good role model
Yeah.
for the rest of us to follow, I'd say. And so what can departments take from an NFPA required like testing, certifications, annual inspections beyond what Pierce can provide?
Yeah, so just understand that what NFPA requires, it's not a paperwork exercise. It is required. So I especially look at the pump testing. You got to make sure that your flows and your pressures meet the standards, so you can put firefighters in the burning structure safely. But you got to learn from mistakes and see what works best for you. I also encourage, like in the world that we're living in, use AI. AI has great resources. It'll look at firefighter or fire magazines and stuff like that. It'll pull stuff right out of NFPA. I think it's a great resource, and I think a lot of departments should start leaning on that.
So next I want to talk about regional maintenance. So certainly when you were overseas, you experienced the colder temperatures with the mountains. Could you tell us a little about what that looks like in a colder environment?
Yeah, so I always look at it. Wisconsin's very cold. We have our neighbors to the north in Canada that we build a lot of trucks for too,
Hmm.
and they have to understand: are they running a wet pump or a dry pump? A dry pump, there's no water in there, so they don't run the risk of freezing the pump and cracking the casing. Very dangerous if you do have water in there. It's a little bit of water that's in there, so it's easy to freeze. They keep it in the tank. It's harder, right? It's going to take longer for that to actually freeze over and expand and do damage. So a lot of departments will run a dry pump. I think that's a great idea. The con is that they don't have that water readily available when they turn the pump on versus a wet pump. So if you are running a wet pump, I do highly recommend that you guys have a cold climate package. And usually you'll have a diesel heater or a hot water temperature heater or hot water heater inside the pump. So that's another thing that you got to look at. You got to make sure that's operational, make sure that there's no major heat escaping because you really need that in there to keep it from freezing if you're running a wet pump. And then if you go down into the hot territories like Arizona, like the Southwest, you really want to look at your fluids, your hydraulic fluid. You don't want to run lean because you're going to get some sluggish activity. You might get inconsistent activity. So I recommend Pierce has a multi-viscosity 36 hydraulic fluid, which is good for, different temperatures. So I definitely look at, or I would recommend departments looking at our manuals to see if that's the best practice, but they might have to even go to a thicker or even a lighter hydraulic fluid.
Absolutely. And you kind of hit on the different regionalities with what they focus on based on how they operate their fleet. But do you have any maintenance tips for specific regions or trends that you see in your role?
Well, being up here in Wisconsin, Canada, anywhere else in the Midwest in the winter, get the road grime off your chassis. I see a lot of departments that don't clean it off. They're afraid of washing the underneath of their carriage when the truck goes in the department because they might not have a drain. But that road grime really does a lot of nasty stuff, corrosion. and we can see components breaking. Unfortunately, a lot of times if they're not maintaining that, we can deny warranty. And I don't want to talk about warranty because I'm not a warranty guy, but it's unfortunate when that happens, when a department's not taking care of their vehicle and we have to deny something like that.
Yeah.
So best practices is make sure, get under there, get grimy, and clean it off.
Well, absolutely, especially if it can set you up for further
Absolutely, yeah.
success and apparatus
And it will
longevity. And
it will prolong the life of your apparatus.
so you talked about having these resources readily available for everyone in the department in these common places. Are there other attributes you could share or initiatives that can build a strong culture at a department?
Absolutely. I think it starts at the very top. I think a battalion chief or a station chief needs to drive that down into their officers, and the officers need to drive that down into their firefighters and the pump operators. If they have a full buy-in, I think that culture is going to grow naturally, and then it needs to work back up. Once you know that the firefighters have a full buy-in, the chief can start relaxing. They can look at ways to start bettering their practices and their preventative maintenance and keep their trucks in service longer.
Absolutely. So earlier in the episode, you talked about data and documentation. Is there anything that Pierce is offering that would enable departments to do this to the best of their ability?
Well, it goes back to our manuals. I think Pierce does a really good job of putting that documentation in there. Like I said, they can come up with their own documentation or their checklist, and I really highly recommend that. But Pierce does have a checklist in there. You can make copies, you can document that, but then put it somewhere. Make sure your maintenance department has it. Make sure the department keeps it, and even give a copy to the dealer, because I think that relationship between all three, it goes a long way when we can share the information. And like I said, we get a lot of trends. Like Pierce is always looking to improve our product. And if we don't know what's failing out in the field, we can't make those improvements. So aftermarket has a really big hand in that, but it starts with the customer. At the customer level, they got to communicate to the dealer communicates to Pierce, and Pierce looks to make improvements like we always do.
So I know Pierce offers ClearSky Intelligence connected solutions. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so before I go in the depth on that, I think telematics and what Pierce offers with ClearSky, I think it allows the customers to be more proactive instead of reactive when they're seeing defects or failures on their trucks. So now they can look at telematics, they can see faults ahead of time. They can set that up with their dealer or even their maintenance department, where they're getting alerted when a fault pops up on the truck. And I think they can be that much faster getting parts in. Like you get a coolant level or a low coolant level, and you ask the customer, hey, is the level full? And they're like, yeah, it has been, but the alarm keeps going off. I think the maintenance department's going to order a coolant sensor, or they need to bring the truck in and start looking at the wiring. So it's speeding up our repair times, and is limiting the down time of the trucks being out of service. So
Yeah.
telematics is going to go a long ways, and Pierce is constantly looking for ways to leverage that. And I think they're doing a great job, and I can't wait to see what's waiting for us in like 2 years.
Yeah, certainly. And I'm already learning about the accessibility is growing. You can get it on your mobile device with the application. You can get it on your computer, so you can have that instantaneous
Absolutely.
wherever you are, know
Yep.
what's going on.
I just got the app, so I'm playing around with ClearSky on my phone now. So
Yeah.
I can be at home, I can get alerted of a fault, and I don't even have to get my laptop out anymore. So
Yeah.
it's definitely speeding things up, and there's a lot of things that we're looking at. So I just played around with the truck that had a fault. I was able to look at the GPS, and I saw the fault always came on when the truck was turning left. Well, to me, that tells me there's a harness that's pinched somewhere. So we were able to diagnose that a lot quicker.
Is there one piece of advice you could give our listeners if they take anything away from this episode?
Build that habit. And like I said, that starts from the top, it works down. But at the same time, Pierce has a role in this. The dealer has a role in it. Maintenance has a role in it. The firefighters do. The chiefs do. The officers do. So build that habit. Make sure everyone knows how important the preventative maintenance is for these trucks to stay in service.
Thanks for coming on, Jon. We really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. It was very exciting to be here.